What is up, everyone? It's Mr. Lang again, and this is part 2 of 2 right here with the quadratics review. The last video we kind of did more general questions with the parabolas. This time we are going to do solving by factoring and completing the square. We're going to do questions 8, 10, 11, and 12. Then it's your job to finish the worksheet, do that online quiz, and come into class with some questions. Let's get started. Alright, number 8, another multiple choice question. It says the quadratic function y equals x squared minus 8x plus 7 can be written equivalently as, meaning which of these is the same thing? Well, this is a nice review of completing the square to put it into vertex form. This is the general form or standard form. We can tell because it's ax squared plus bx plus c. And these are all in vertex form. So actually, I mean, you could use your calculator, graph this one and then figure out which one of these by graphing is the same exact thing. Easy enough to do on the calculator, but let's review completing the square. So I'll start off with the original, which is y equals x squared minus 8x plus 7. And what we want to do is take these first two terms and put in that blank. So I'm going to put this in parentheses. It's going to be x squared minus 8x plus what number? We're completing a square to make it a perfect square. And then don't forget, we've got the plus 7. And if we add some number here, we need to subtract it out afterwards to make it, balance it out. So remember how we figure out what goes into this blank. We take half of negative 8, which is negative 4. And then we take that negative 4 and we square it. Alright, and negative 4 times negative 4 gives us positive 16. So 16 is going to go here, 16 is going to go here. So in vertex form, remember what we had to do to get that positive 16. We took half of the negative 8, that's negative 4. So this is going to be x minus 4, quantity squared. And then on the outside here we got 7 minus 16, which would be minus 9. So let's see if one of these actually matches, and it is. It's answer number 2, minus 4 squared minus 9. Cool, so that's completing the square, and you can use completing the square to solve quadratics, but in the next few questions I'm actually going to do factoring style. Question number 10 says the solutions to the equation 5 times x minus 1 times x plus 3 equals 0 are what? So really, this is like actually the second half of a solve by factoring question because they already factored it for us. So remember our zero product rule. If you multiply some numbers together and it equals 0, one of these numbers has to equal 0. Well, 5 can't equal 0, so I'm not even going to write that. So either x minus 1 or x plus 3 equals 0. So we split and solve. And, these are easy enough. Add 1 to both sides. We get x is equal to 1. Subtract 3 from both sides over here. And we get x is equal to negative 3. I think the most common mistake would be people say, does this mean that 0 is one of the zeros? No, this just we disregard this because 5 can't equal 0, so I don't even include it here. So we got 1 and negative 3. I believe that is answer number 1. It's definitely not that, it's definitely not that, and that's opposite. So yeah, answer number 1. Cool, let's get to the next one. Number 11 says, which of the following is the solution set to the equation x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0? You could either put this in on the calculator and look for the zeros, or we could do it by solving as well. I think this one is factorable, so I am going to try that at least. If factoring doesn't work, you can always do completing the square, but factoring, when it works, is a little bit quicker. So I'm going to put the x squared in this first box. I'm going to put the negative 16 in this box. I know this is going to be x, and I got to figure out, well, how am I going to multiply to get negative 16? I think it's going to be negative 8 times a positive 2, because I see that's a negative 6 in the middle. So let's see, negative 8 times x is negative 8x. I've got x times 2, or 2x. And when I combine like terms here, I get negative 8x plus 2x gives me negative 6x, so I know I got this right. So to rewrite this in factored form, it's going to be x minus 8 times x plus 2 is equal to 0. And again, to solve this, we split and solve. And if x minus 8 equals 0, we know x is equal to positive 8, or x is equal to, in this case, negative 2. So my solutions are 8 and negative 2, and it's a little out of order here, but same thing, answer number 4. Alright, last one. Number 12. The solution set to 8x squared minus 4x equals 0 is what? This is another one where I would solve by factoring, and the first thing I'm looking for, and you always want to look for, is a GCF. If you do this, it's going to make your life a heck of a lot easier. The GCF between 8x squared and negative 4x, well, I can definitely pull out a 4, 8 and 4. And then between x squared and x, you always just take the lesser exponent or lesser power. So the GCF is 4x. So let me first take care of that. So I'm going to do my 1 by 2 window here. This is 8x squared and negative 4x. And my GCF is 4x here, and I just got to figure out, well, how do I multiply? What do I multiply 4x by to get to 8x squared? Well, that would be 2x. And then 4x times what gives me negative 4x? I know that's a minus 1. So I'm going to rewrite the original equation in its factored form. It's 4x times 2x minus 1 all equals 0. And just like in the last two questions, I'm going to split and solve. Either 4x equals 0 or 2x minus 1 equals 0. For x equals 0 is a super easy one to solve. X must be equal to 0. 2x minus 1 is a two-stepper. I'm going to first add 1 to both sides. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. So we got two answers, 0 and 1/2. That looks to be answer number 3. So this was mostly a review of solving by factoring, but I did do that completing the square at the beginning to help you. And remember, you can do completing the square for all the questions we did here, but I think if you can do factoring, it's a little bit easier, and we got a lot of practice with the windows. So anyway, I hope these two videos were helpful for you. Come into class with some questions and get ready for that Regents. Thanks for listening.